Me?
Yes, I'm very curious.
Well, as a matter of fact, I was guided to Lumon's store by Jesus.
Oh. Jesus Christ?
That's the one.
Is Bert evil? A spy? A villain? Well, let's find out. Episode 206 of Severance is an absolute masterpiece, packed with mind-blowing details, hidden clues, and some unanswered questions. There's so much to break down, so let's dive right in. First, if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. I genuinely appreciate you. And if you're new here and love dissecting your favorite show, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into it. The Burt Conundrum. So, is Bert evil? Is he a villain? A spy, or even part of Lumon's board? Well, let's just say there's been a lot of suspicious activity surrounding Bert in episodes 205 and 206. But for me, the highlight of this episode was Bert and Phil's dinner scene, despite all that was going on. Bert has always been one of my favorite characters, largely due to Christopher Walken's phenomenal acting. However, it might be time to revisit Dylan's early suspicions about Bert.
I met the O&D department head.
Bert? I've met that guy. He's a fuck. You didn't tell him where we are, did you?
Bert's not a fuck, and no.
Let's recap. So Bert was allegedly, quote-unquote, retired from Lumon. He recorded a farewell video for his innie. They threw a weird melon party. Irving made a courageous speech, and, well, that was that. Then came the OTC, and the last thing that we saw was Irving knocking on Bert G's door before the screen cut to black. We got some vague explanations later, but nothing concrete, until episode 205, where this pivotal scene happened. Listen closely, because we'll analyze this right after.
I got canned a couple of weeks ago. When I pressed them for a reason, they said my innie had an unsanctioned erotic entanglement with another worker. They wouldn't tell me who. Then you show up at my door.
Bert mentions that he was canned a couple of weeks ago. This kind of aligns with our retirement timeline, as everything from the OTC, the retirement party, and the Ortbo happened within the past 10 to 14 days. But here's the kicker. If he was canned, why did he record a retirement video? This contradiction becomes even more suspicious when we learn that Bert's Audi is dishonest and misleading.
He put the dick in contradiction.
Bert also claims he got into an erotic entanglement at work, but he doesn't know with whom. When Irving appears, he assumes it must be him. This is odd for several reasons, and we'll circle back to this soon. Irving arrives at their home, where the three of them have some really fascinating conversations. So let's break it all down.
Nonsense. What's mine's yours.
Is this an innocent, sad remark about Bert and the recent events, or is there something more sinister at play? But Fields also calls Bert a Philistine.
What your innie ever saw in this Philistine is beyond me.
This seems wildly inaccurate given what we know about the innie Bert, who is very artistic and cultured. So is it another banter, or is Audi Bert vastly different from his innie? They also call each other Attila instead of Hun. A bizarre choice, considering Attila the Hun was a ruthless warlord, so why would they choose that nickname? And why is there such a strong emphasis on Bert's past actions?
Do I think I'm going to heaven?
Yes, one asks at breakfast.
I pretend to think about it, but I know the answer is no.
To which I replied, what am I supposed to do up there for eternity all by myself?
And I must add, did you know that Attila the Hun killed his own brother to seize more power? Does this sound familiar to you? It's probably because it is. So what I'm thinking is maybe Bert actually killed his own brother, and that's why his past is so dark and unredeemable, to the point that they're thinking there is no chance for him to ever go to heaven. You know who else did a similar thing with his brother in Woe's Hollow? Well, I think that one's a little bit of a wild theory. So let's just continue. Is his only redemption tied to his innie's actions? And if so, how would Bert's innie even recognize Fields? If anything, Bert's innie would only recognize Irving. And isn't it ironic that they're trying to send Bert to heaven while sending him to hell down there at Lumon's server floor? Well, that's not where the interesting part ends. So let's continue. The Lumen timeline problem. So a heated debate breaks out over how long Bert has been at Lumen, and here's how it goes.
We used to call each other Hun. Then about 10 years ago, that became Attila.
Because. Do you know history?
He knows history.
And it wasn't 10 years ago, it was 20. No. Yes.
No.
Yes, because I remember we're having drinks with your Lumon partner. Quite startled him.
Didn't the first severed office open 12 years ago?
Yes, it did. Maybe that's enough of that.
Now that you heard that, I want you to listen to something else as well. This is Bert's retirement tape, so please listen carefully.
Of course, I don't really know any of you, but the man standing there with you now does. He's worked with you for nearly 7 years, and I hope they've been good years.
So which is it? If Fields and Bert are so religiously devoted, shouldn't they get this detail right? The inconsistency is highly suspicious, especially on this item.
Why did you lie about the number?
Bert's lifestyle. Is it a key clue? Well, let's compare Bert's lifestyle to other Lumen employees. Mark, Dylan, and Irving, they all live in modest homes. But Bert, he lives in a luxurious suburban house, drinks expensive wine, collects high-end art, and has an unhealthy obsession with salt and paper shakers. Their lifestyle is more in line with Dr. Rick and Hale and other powerful figures connected to Lumen, like the Artedas. But could Bert be more than just a severed employee, a spy, or a board member? Fields mentions that Bert had a similar relationship with a quote-unquote Lumen partner 20 years ago. This raises huge red flags. 20 years ago predates the severance technology, at least as we know it. Is Bert even severed? And if he is severed, how did they connect outside of work? But why would they fire him now? If Lumen tolerated this Lumen partner before, why was he canned this time around? But last, I just want to redirect your attention to something that Felicia says on episode 203 to Irving's Innie.
And Bert says, I don't care if you're a bare goddamn Egan. You don't come to my department and tell me how to print a snow globe.
Felicia references Beard Egan's tenure, so 1959 to 1976, and Philip Pip Egan's, which is 1987 to 1999. If Bert's history ties into these eras, his employment at Lumen predates even the Severance program. Okay, let's get to the bottom of this entire thing, which I think is the most chilling line of the entire episode. Fields casually says,
I see. So we hop on the train to church, and it so happens the sermon that day is about severance, which was still very new at the time. Yeah. And the pastor says,
as if he'd been listening to our conversation.
But who was listening, Lumen or Bert himself? This line raises a terrifying possibility. Has Lumen been manufacturing grief to push people into severance? Because I want you to consider a bunch of different things. Mark, well, his wife's death led him to join Lumen. Petey, well, his divorce may have been orchestrated to make him sever. And Irving, well, his father's death might have pushed him towards Lumen. And, we saw a dead seal in episode 204. So is Lumen actively creating grief and loss to ensure compliance? Are they manipulating people's pain so they willingly sever, spending their lives refining numbers to bring Kier Egan back to life? Or what is going on here? Now, this episode has left me questioning everything. Bert's story is filled with inconsistencies, and his wealth, dishonesty, and cryptic past suggest he's far more than a regular Lumen employee. But what do you think? Is Burt a spy, a villain, a board member? Well, let me know your theories, your thoughts, your feelings, everything. I'm Derivo. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to hearing all you have to say in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, praise Kier, take care, and stay safe.